Hello and welcome to All For United with me, John Foster, MUFC. Joining me as always is Natalie. How you doing, Nat?
I'm good, John. I'm good.
Good stuff. We've got like 3 weeks without a women's game. Only got about 3 days left to go. Fingers crossed we can get one on Sunday. You looking forward to that one?
Yeah, it's going to be good. It's going to be good. Just first game back is always nervous but exciting.
Absolutely, 100%, yeah. And joining us on the show tonight is Emma. Thank you very much for joining us. How are you, Emma?
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for having me. Yeah, it's been a busy day, hasn't it? So I'm very much ready for bed. But happy to be with you guys tonight, obviously.
Well, thank you for joining us. And as always, I've put a bit of a script together. We've put a bit of preparation into this show throughout the week, and that's kind of got out the window a little bit with today's breaking news. Before we get into Dubai, let's just introduce Emma a little bit more. Emma, would you mind just explaining to the guys in the comments and who are watching exactly who you are, what do you do, what's your day job?
Yeah, sure. So I'm a broadcast journalist at BBC Sport. I predominantly report on Premier League. I do a lot of live stuff, do a lot of the live texting and things like that, match reports, match previews, general feature writing, kind of a bit of everything. We've got quite a small team online at BBC Sport. So yeah, we all sort of put together all of the football content, and then and then obviously I do a lot in WSL as well. I was saying to John before off air that I kind of did a lot of that kind of off my own back originally when I first came to BBC, but now it's starting to factor some time into my rota now for me to do a bit more women's football stuff, because I was really passionate about getting more coverage of the game, and and it's just been really good. We've obviously started to do a lot more coverage and get more space on the website, so that's kind of me. Yeah, I'm pretty much a women's football and Premier League football writer.
Excellent. And we'll be discussing a couple of your articles throughout the show. Just want to give a shout out to a lot of people who are watching at the moment. As always, in the comments, John Fry, Marie, Gary, just put a few of the comments on the screen. Thank you very much. Nat, we've got to start off with today's breaking news. If you wouldn't mind, just obviously there's a lot of people probably watching who follows women's football, watches a few games, but they may not know exactly what goes on behind the scenes or where people go on holidays, for example. Can you just maybe just kind of explain to us exactly where it started and what's actually happened today? What's actually?
Well, I might not be the best person, but I'll say it, and Em will know a lot more than me. But I'm prepared to go a lot harder than what Em might go. But no, listen, I love Em, and that's how I met her. She met me through just me being out there and talking. That's why we've got this show, John, so we can talk. This is how the fans feel. And the girls have gone couple. Maybe I'm hearing a lot more now than we originally thought. Man United girls. Originally, it was a lot of City, Arsenal. There's a few Liverpool, might be some Leicester. Different clubs have all gone out to Dubai in this 3-week break. A lot of people in England have been told they can't see their family on Christmas, who are living in London have been told they can't see their family. But these girls have decided, whether some clubs have got given permission or not, we're yet to find out what's happened with our girls, but we've been told that a couple have gone over to Dubai. Katie Zellum, our captain, posted a picture. That's what's opened this whole thing about Man United players being out there. We would never have known there was Man United players out there until she posted that. So for me, that's not good enough. And I think the way I've read a few articles about it, and it's saying the way the women's football is united, and we're calling out our players, Arsenal players are calling out ours, we're calling out everyone who's went, and it's not good enough, because for me, we can't even get in and see it. Like I said, there's people who can't even see their family. Tobin and Kristen, they can't go back to America, but you got these girls going on holiday in the middle of pandemic in winter. It's just not good enough. And I think there's disappointment, there's anger, there's upset, especially from our fan base, but from the whole fan base. And to go out there and jeopardise, for me, we're sitting top of this league. We've worked so hard. We can't even get in and watch it. How many games have I missed before this, John? 2 in 2 years I've missed. And for me, they just show that they don't care. And it's like the men's game. People say it's like the Premier League, but at least with the Premier League, they'll come out and say, I'm sorry. They'd make a donation. There'd be some consequence. I don't think there's going to be any consequence to this. I just think they're going to carry on as per. They'll forget about it. But it's not like that this time. It's taking the mick out of everyone. And man, we work so hard with the Barmy Army, with all these shows that we're doing. We're not doing it For us, we're not getting any paid from it. They're getting paid, and this show is to boost it, to give them more fans, and they're just throwing it back in our face. I'd really upset them, and I'm feeling it, man. Emma, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's really, really good to hear your passion, and I completely empathise with it. And this has been something that's really disappointed me, is that I think you're absolutely right in the sense of, I think the players need to take responsibility. I think there needs to be some kind of accountability across the board, whether that comes from the FA, whether that comes from the clubs, whether it comes from the individuals involved, because, clearly you can hear from the passion that you've just had, Natalie, that it has really upset people. And you're right, women's football, whether that be fans, journalists and other players, are united in their disappointment of this. I interviewed the FA Sue Campbell, the director of women's football, earlier this afternoon, and it was meant to be about something completely different. And obviously we said, look, we're not going to speak to you without asking you these questions, otherwise we wouldn't be doing our jobs as journalists. And to be fair to her, she was very very open, very upfront, and did address them. But yeah, I mean, I was disappointed, I have to admit, to kind of not get a sense that there would be much punishment. And Sue herself said that was on the clubs really, and not the FA. Do I think that that's something that needs to change? Perhaps, yeah. I do think the FA needs to step in and maybe take a bit more control of the situation and be the kind of the governing body that oversees the consequences of this. But as it stands, it is the clubs that apparently are the ones taking the responsibility, and so far I haven't really seen any clubs take the responsibility. So yeah, I mean, from my point of view, I am disappointed. I'm with Natalie.
I can see people in the comments, and I'm going to get a bit in. The club will never take responsibility. Why would you take responsibility? Why would you, because you're a club, you're just interested in your own gain. And the way I see it with Man United, we've not got any positive tests. So obviously the alleged people who've gone out there, they've got away with it because they're not positive. Yeah, obviously it's not good for, say, Arsenal and City players, but nothing's going to come of them missing that game. You know what I mean? So there's no consequence for it. They're not bothered. They can just an extra week training. They're not bothered. So why would a club then? There's no consequence to it. Why would they be bothered? The player's not going to miss any match. So this is why the FA need to do something. And in a way, I don't think they will, because what I've heard from Sue Campbell, from the other girl, Kelly Simmons, they're not going to do anything. But this is why I think, in my opinion, fans shouldn't stop. They should keep going. They should demand it. And, Barmy Army, I know we're going to go on to it about, we're the most passionate fans, John, in my opinion. No one is more passionate than us. We're the most vocal on Twitter. We're the most vocal in the stadium. And I think Man United need to know this is not finished. No matter what Casey says next tomorrow, unless they come out and say, we're sorry, it's not finished. If you say we're sorry, we can move on. But if you just, it's just one of them things and brush it under the carpet, it's not going to be brushed under the carpet. There's still fallout from Alex Greenwood, and all them, that was all in 2018. People are still like, what happened here? And, there's still fallout that Glenn Harris even got the job. So the thing is, for me, Man United, we won't let it set. Whether the rest of the WSL will just sort of forget about it and other fans, I don't know. But I know as Man United fans, the passion that we have, we shouldn't let it. It's not acceptable that this has happened. I don't know what you think, John, but I don't think we should just let it just die a death. I think it should keep going until they come out and say, we're sorry.
I think for myself, I think every team will deal with this separately. Obviously, that's the position that we're in. I do think Casey will come down. I don't know if she'll do it publicly. Obviously, she'll say the right thing, won't she? We know that. Look, we spoke before the show. It's just very disappointing that when you do go abroad in those circumstances and you put yourself in the spotlight and you put it across social media, we already spoke before that we felt uneasy about it, and that was before, obviously, what happened with the City announcement today. I just think that you're putting yourself there to be shot at, and unfortunately now for them, they're in the firing line, aren't they? All of them. I think it will be interesting to see how Casey approaches it. I do think that she'll do the right thing. I think that she knows what's right and what's wrong. I don't think she's condoned anything. I know that we spoke a little bit before we've come on air. Look, whether or not Casey's got any, if she's allowed to authorise holidays or not, that's different. But I do pretty much guarantee that she wouldn't have wanted them to do it. But whether or not she's actually allowed to say, no, don't go on holiday. I really doubt that. So, look, let's put the responsibility on the players. The players have gone, and now she will. I don't know what the punishment will be, but I think the fact that everyone's highlighted it and the players will be embarrassed, I think that's pretty much punishment enough, potentially. There's people in the comments talking about bans, supporting local hospitals, etc., supporting the NHS, donations to the NHS. Yeah, maybe, but I think it's got to be a blanket thing. I don't think it's down to Casey just to say, okay, you've got to do this. I think, unfortunately, it's down to the governing bodies to be doing that. Let me just put a few comments on the screen now. So, Dan Marta, nice for you to join us. I know it's late at night where you are. Thank you for joining in. You can see...
Well, that's the one I want to ask Birmingham, I've played with 11, 12, sometimes we're talking about 9. What do you think that these games are called off? And obviously Birmingham, it's not their fault that they were called off, whereas this is players going to Dubai on the jollies. What's your opinion on that?
This is where the situation, I think, is confusing for everyone. And this is where, from a journalist's point of view, we want some more transparency on it all, because, we see Birmingham every week struggling to fill a bench. They're struggling to get a squad out, but as long as they've got 11 players, they've been playing the game. Obviously, I reported it quite openly when Carla Ward was struggling to get players out for one of their fixtures for the derby against Villa. And at one point that week, I think they had 9 players, and they managed to get a couple of late fitness tests passed. There was actually one of those players on the bench. I think they had 3 players on the bench in the end. One of those was not fully fit. And another one that was in the starting lineup was only medically passed to play 45 minutes. So they had to bring someone else off the bench who could only play 45 minutes as well. So they were very much scraping the barrel. So that, obviously that was a big win for them. But I think it just shows that I think clubs that are very keen to play games have been fighting to play them. Look, I don't know the ins and outs of every single thing that's going on at City or Arsenal or etc., where other games are being called off. But as far as I'm aware, I think as long as you've got a team, you can play the fixture. I think there's obviously lots of things that factor into it. You've obviously got academy players who they can come up and train, but they have to be within the bubble. So they have to, self-isolate if they have been within that academy bubble. So that poses a few problems, which is what Birmingham have had actually, especially that game ahead of Villa. They just couldn't bring the academy players up in time. So they actually requested, with the FA to try and see if they could get some way around that. But in terms of safety, it just wasn't really viable. City will say, I've been told that they've got a lot of injuries at the moment. Obviously, they've got the players over on international duty in the States.
Really?
They've got 4 positive COVID tests, and there's one more that I've been told is self-isolating due to coming into contact with a household member who's tested positive. So that's what City will argue. But as I say, I think we can probably all have our own opinions on that. But yeah, that's how it stands on record.
Yeah, here's another one. The clubs hoping that people forget, and I think they will. I think they are. And another thing I want to say, Birmingham, like you said, they want to play it, and it's as if I know Carla Ward. She's like Casey. If you think of Casey, the determination, the grit, that's Carla Ward, and yeah, she will not want to sort of miss a game. And for me, I think City, the players that went out, there's a picture, and it's Lucy Bronze, Alex Greenwood, Ellie Roebuck. Then they're missing their 2 main, and we've talked about it, haven't we, John? Sam Mewis, best player for me, best midfielder and I love Jackie, but I think Sam Mewis is the best midfielder in the WSL. So is it they've not got a first team, so they want to pull out? And I'm not, City fans will then say I'm thinking about them, but I just don't understand how you can be Man City on a really good run of form. Big squad, depth, players need games, and you don't want to play. And I just think it looks like it's looking, and I know people are saying it, justice for Bristol City because they had to play their academies kids. The big teams get one thing, your Arsenal, City, or that's it. Thanks a lot, lads. But, Birmingham, Bristol, the ones at the bottom with probably less money, with less clout, are getting punished. I mean, even the men, City, look how they got their Everton game postponed. And let's, I don't want to like start playing, games, but it's not a good look. And women's game, they tell me it's above this, it's above that, but it's not. It's all the same for me. Sorry, and I know I'm going because I'm really upset by it.
No, it's absolutely fine. And we talk about the players not being available and having smaller squads. I know it's completely different to the men's game, but Aston Villa's had a player tested positive, I believe, today, or the men's team, or there's something going on there. But they've been told that they've got to fill their under-23s team, or they've got to get players from elsewhere. They've still got to play the game. And I think that nearly the whole of the senior squad is rumoured to be out. So I know it's obviously a different ball game, so I speak with men and women. But for me, if you've got your youngsters there for a reason, there should be some rule in there, I would have thought, for the game to go ahead. Just before we summarise this topic, Emma, could you kind of just like clarify? How many people have been tested? How many people have been tested positive? What teams are they? Are we allowed to talk about that kind of stuff, or how many games have been cancelled?
Yeah, I mean, off the top of my head, I can't remember how many tested positives that came. All we know is the public figures that come out in the latest round of testing. And so we had them, was it yesterday, the day before, Tuesday? We knew before Christmas that Chelsea had an outbreak. I believe that is still the case this time around. That's kind of the overflow of the results there. Arsenal game has been cancelled, and obviously the Man City game has been cancelled. There was talk this morning, I had a few messages sent through. There was a bit of concern over Tottenham, Birmingham, but I've checked with both clubs and that situation seems to be okay. So that game looks like it's going ahead. I think that was probably fueled by a bit of rumours around anyone from
one player going out there, everyone knows.
But as far as I'm aware, Birmingham, as of about yesterday morning, I think Birmingham had 12 players. Hopefully they've got a few more now ahead of the weekend. But so hopefully there won't be any more cancellations. And like I said, I can't really name who has tested positive. But I think all of those that were out in Dubai that we have seen on social media, or that the rumours going around, as far as I'm aware, not all of them have tested positive. There has been some negative tests among those. But yeah, that's probably about as much as I can say.
That's absolutely fine. Nat, before we start moving on to some positive stuff, just any final thoughts for yourself there regarding this whole fiasco?
I mean, I'm going a bit in too much probably, and I'll get in trouble, But for me, they need to just say sorry now. It's done. Whether we've seen a picture of you out there or not, come out, say sorry, put it to rest, move on, because I think it's just going to hang. And, we know when things happen, people are going to then start speculating on it, all different names, all different numbers. Who can we trust? I've said a few things on social media, but people will go even more than me. And I think if she doesn't, there's a press conference tomorrow. I don't know if we can say that, but we're going to hear something from Casey. I'll say it. And if she doesn't say anything, it's just going to make the feelings worse. And there's no point, for me, like I said, that relationship is so special, but that we have. I mean, I don't know about even you, Jan, but for me, I feel it's special. And I feel it's special because I speak to them a lot. But, someone like you, John, who did start, supporting not late, but later than me, potentially, do you feel that specialness? And even you feel let down? Even people coming from India, Namrata feels let down, and there's no point in spoiling that over just not saying sorry for me. That's it.
That's cool. That's absolutely fine. Look, thank you to everybody in the comments. We've got loads of people watching, probably like the highest views that we've had, especially at this time of the show. I think we had like about 60 odds watching for like a good 15 minutes up until a few minutes ago. So thank you to everybody in the comments. Look, we do want to move on to a few positives, but we had to address that. And obviously, Natalie's got a few things off her chest there. So thank you for doing all the talking on that one. Look, we want to talk about one of Emma's articles that was read about Christmas times. And it actually featured yourself, Natalie, funnily enough.
Yeah.
I still wanted to talk about this anyway, because this is a big thing, a big topic for myself. And Natalie, I know it's a big topic of mine. It's about attendances in stadiums. I think I'm one of the few people who, if I could take winning the league or filling up a stadium, I would say filling up a stadium, because I think one day we will win the league anyway. I think what Casey's doing is absolutely fantastic, and I don't think she needs any help with that. I think one thing that she does need help with, whether it be from the club, whether it be from the media, whether it be from fans, is to get extra fans in that stadium. So one of your articles ever quite recently, you mentioned the Barmy Army, you spoke to Natalie, you spoke to other fan groups as well, and you highlighted other fan groups. How do you feel the introduction of Man United as the women's team has helped fans grow and helped just the fan base in general?
Yeah, I mean, I've been quite vocal about this. I think the introduction of any fan base who's willing to create a bit of rivalry and a bit of noise is only a good thing. I'm very, very passionate and strong on the fact that I want to see more rivalry. I want to see more big derby matches. I want to see, fans really feeling the occasion. I think it's a mark of respect to the players. I think these players deserve to play in occasions, and occasions are created by fan bases that demand a bit of rivalry and that like to have a derby. So a big club like Manchester United coming into women's football, yes, they took too long and they were criticised for it, and rightly so. But then when they have arrived, they've done it the right way. They're not just here to be a women's football team. They're here to win trophies, and they're here to compete and not just exist. And that was obviously why they waited. Casey's spoken about this. She said that they wanted to do it the right way, and I absolutely believe that they have done it the right way, and that means having fans on board, that means filling stadiums, that means creating atmosphere. And obviously when a big club like Manchester United comes in, they're going to have a rivalry there with Manchester City. Chelsea and Arsenal at the top of the table are probably now a bit worried about them, so there's a bit of a rivalry going on there. Liverpool, before they obviously got relegated, they saw United as a rival. So I think the introduction of yourselves is obviously been a very positive thing on the league, and that's not saying that you guys are any better or any worse than any other supporters group. It's the fact that more supporters groups are now starting to build their rivalry. Manchester United are doing that as well, and I think the more supporters clubs that come together and provide that unity and provide that atmosphere at women's football is good for everyone. So I'm delighted to see the growth of all of the fan bases, and obviously the Barmy Army is an important factor in that.
Nath, I'm sure you're ready to come in. So what's your take on that?
I love it. I love when Emma said about it's what they deserve. That's what I've always said. It's what they deserve, and it's always Liverpool. No matter what, it's always Liverpool. That is the one who I want to stick it to, men or women. Even with Liverpool in the Championship, I want to stick it to them. We didn't this season, but I want to stick it to them. And we had Stu on it, and he said, would you take Liverpool back up? And I said, I love laughing at them in the Championship, but I would take them back up just to take them 6 points, and just to stick it to them. And it is that, and I love it. And for me, he said, this is what they deserve. And I think when you go and watch it, they give that passion, they give that fight. You see them, thriving off each other. And then I think for me, when the Barmy Army came in, you saw them thriving off us. And so I think when we had our name actually a game, Liverpool, and I think Amy Turner did a big, massive tackle in the middle. She won the ball, but you heard everyone's voice go up, and then it was on, and then it was this and that, and Jess was passing, and it was quick flowing football, because the first half I didn't think we played that well. But the minute that she made that tackle, and I've seen it in the men's game, I've seen it at Old Trafford, I've seen Lindelof make a big, massive tackle in the middle, and it's raised us, and then we've gone on to win. And that's what happened. It raised us, we went on to win. And then for people say to me, the game when Lauren, John, you know what I mean, when she cut in and the Liverpool girl went sliding and she just banged, and that noise, it was something special, man. And that's what Liverpool does, beating them, scoring that first goal. But the fact it was Liverpool, it meant something even more. And yeah, I don't want them back, but if we have to have them back, I can't wait, because I want to go to their ground and teach them.
Well, thankfully, we managed to play them in the Conti Cup. Obviously, not great this season, but a lot of the fans obviously wanted Liverpool to go down last season, and I can understand why for the banter. But we all said, provided we get to play them in the Cup, because we still want to play them. And for someone like me, I don't really care about playing Brighton. I'd rather play Liverpool. So,
yeah.
You know, I want to see him get back up to go back down again, obviously. But the more games,
yeah, yo-yo them. For me as well. I know it sounds really strange, and people will say, I think if we were there in that game, it would have been different, because I saw there was a moment and Tobin got fouled, and I just think it would have been on that rest back, would have been on all those players back. They would have, you know, Tobin had just first come in. That was their first game. They didn't know, and I think we would have just taught them, listen, this is how it goes down. This is Liverpool, and I don't think they would have come off that pitch going 1-0 down, coming back out knowing that we were there, to then lose that. But that's just what, in my opinion. I mean, let Em say something as well.
Go on, Em.
I mean, surely, look, in any big game, fans make a huge difference. So not just big games, just any game. But that's the sad thing this season, isn't it? Is that, you know, you can't have fans at these big games, and that's, I think, all we want. You know, whether you're a Man United fan, whether you're a Man City fan, whether or not you're Brighton, Bristol, Aston Villa. We all want to see fans at games because it brings the best out of players, it brings the best out of women's football, and it brings the best out of these occasions, which is the big derby crunch matches that we all look forward to. So hopefully we can get fans back sooner rather than later, because it's what the players want more than anything.
Emma, I don't know what answer I want from this question I'm about to ask, but is there anything that the journalists or media would like more of from the fan base that we can actually try and do in the stadiums or even away from the stadiums, such as like channels like this, or being really active on social media, or doing something in the ground? Or obviously you want talking points, but you know, is there anything that you can think of off the top of your head that you enjoy seeing, or maybe not enjoy seeing, that you'd like us to do?
Yeah, well, weirdly enough, top of my list was what we've just discussed, and that was incite more rivalry, because I think it's I want those big occasions. So yeah, obviously we've discussed that, but another thing for me really is I like to see fans calling things out as well. You know, anything that they feel like is not up to standard, or you know, they want to see more professionalism or more elitism within the game. I think by fans putting pressure on journalists and the media to ask these questions, we can, you know, we then feel we do feel that pressure. We do listen to fans. We do see what you say. So, you know, by putting pressure on us, we then in turn put pressure on the organisations and the clubs and the managers, etc. And I think, you know, we can then hold and ask people for accountability. So use your voices, because at the end of the day, football is about the fans, and it's the fans who are the most important people. It goes fans, then players, and then everyone else. So don't ever shy away from using your voices, because it's what we want to hear.
Go on, Nat.
I've just seen something that we started. I'm not saying that it wasn't there before, but I think we are the most vocal on it. Better Refs 2020. Better Refs 2021. The one above, that is something that I think as Man United fans, we have been the most vocal on that. And, you know, Carla Ward's just got a one-match ban, and she's just spoke out about it, and everyone in the comments I saw was United fans just saying, how dare. And I think I don't know if you came to that one, but the Reading game when Katie Zellum hit it, but they gave it, Twitter burnt that day, you know? And I think that's it with United fans. And I think when we first did sort of, and Chelsea fans have described it, popped on the scene. We popped on the scene. We did this. We came out. We said we didn't like this. I mean, I remember times in the Championship, the game was called off because they didn't have any oxygen. And I thought, what is this show that I'm here to see? I'm here to see football. What's this? You mean you don't have oxygen? Little things like that. And I think we've always said, this ain't right. This ain't right with ticketing. I don't want to sign up. I mean, I've said your point, John. This ain't right with this. This ain't right with that. And I think, you know, Casey's even now coming out more, I've seen, and saying things. And I think said to you when that Everton game was called off, I couldn't believe she said it. But I think it's because she knows that we're always going to back her. And we think the same way. She knows that we're going to say it because it's not good enough. Standards aren't good enough. And you can't have your game called off because of a roof caved in. What kind of foolishness is that? You won't see it in the Premier League. So why are you seeing it in women's football? Whereas I feel like people then say United fans are always moaning. But is it moaning, or is it just trying to, like Em said, push the standards? And I think that's what we're always trying to do. And even with this Dubai thing, we'll call out our own because it's not good enough. And, you know, this is what we expect from a Man United team, men or women. So we are telling you to do it. And, yeah, it's coming, and it's coming better. And I know people will say it's not enough content now. And, yeah, it's not enough. But from what it was to where it is now. I think they've improved a lot. I mean, we have weekly conferences with Casey, and when people want to know things, they get to find out things. And like Em says, always push it, always ask what you want to say. And Casey got a yellow in that match. I remember it. Casey was about to run on the pitch. I remember it. I never seen Casey so livid with that not handball thing. So, and all the players came out on that day and said it was a disgrace and it's disgusting. And, you know, and even the Abbey Mac, when it crossed the line, we said it was a disgrace. And again, you get your rivals, you're just moaning. No, it's not moaning. We need better standards. And that's the thing that we have always pushed and said it needs to improve everything.
Nat, we were speaking, obviously, about the fan base, and I know there's going to be a lot of people watching this show specifically tonight from other fan groups, and we will be talking about our rivals shortly, about what we expect from them in the second half of the season. But just to show a bit of love to some other teams out there and other supporters, who have you seen at Leeds Sports Village or on an away day that's created probably the best atmosphere, obviously away from Manchester United?
For me, I think that I saw actually someone say it. I think it was Marnie say Chelsea. Chelsea for me, I think I think they travel up and down. So they came up to LSV, and it was a midweek match. They were there. They're like where they've got the stadium set up. They've got big flags. To be fair, they had a full stadium that day. We went Kings Meadow. Did you come to that one, John? I can't remember.
No, but I was going to say the home game. I think it was a cup game last season. I think that was a brilliant one for them. Obviously, there was cheering, but in numbers as well. They came in numbers. And they created a good atmosphere, and that's probably the best I've seen at Leeds Sports Village, at least. How about yourself? Emma? Obviously, we spoke about the Barmy Army and Man United fans, but what other fans out there have you been impressed with?
Yeah, I mean, Chelsea have been very vocal. I really love the way that Chelsea is so active as well on sort of social media and in public platforms. And, you know, I think they've always used their voice. So, Chelsea are obviously very well respected. I think Everton have been there from day one as well. And they've always been there for the team. Look, I don't want to name too many, because if I don't name someone, then people will say I'm naming some others above them. But look, I do a lot of work up north, so the main sort of fan bases that I see are obviously City, United, Everton, Liverpool, etc. So I've had some really good experiences whenever I've gone down south and seen Chelsea fans in particular. So
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic. Yeah, look, we spoke a little bit about our rivals there. We want to talk about our rivals there regarding on the pitch. So somehow we've gone from 18 points behind our rivals last season in the league to actually being top of the WSL this season. Emma, let's stick with yourself for the time being then. Obviously, they've dropped off a little bit, especially the likes of Arsenal and City. We've took advantage of that, potentially maybe even punching above our weight. Natalie might say opposite, and maybe she's expecting that. But I think a lot of things have gone our way, and I think a lot of things have probably gone against the likes of City, especially. What do you expect to see in the second half of the season from Chelsea, Arsenal, and City?
Yeah, look, Chelsea's squad is phenomenal. We knew that before the start of the season, and I think they've still got 2 games in hand, so could go level on points with Man United, I believe. So Chelsea are going to be there. Chelsea are going to be a serious threat. I have to admit, before the season started, I had them alongside Man City as the top 2 and United as a very close third. I'm not surprised by United's progression. I saw them closing the gap massively, but I didn't quite see the drop off from City, I have to be honest. I think Chelsea will still be strong. I think for me, Chelsea are still the favourites for the title. Manchester United have clearly improved, but as I said, I think the other teams have dropped off. City, I'm a bit disappointed with, to be honest. I think they've been hit by a few injuries, but I think the quality in that squad, they should be doing better. Those draws at the beginning of the season against Brighton, I think Reading, it is off the top of my head, has obviously hurt them. They drew with Manchester United, and then I think Arsenal for me have always lacked something. We've seen against the big teams this season that they've not quite been able to hit it. Obviously, they've lost to yourselves. I think they lost to City as well, didn't they? And did they draw with Chelsea? So I think Arsenal need to pick up points against the big teams. That's where they're missing out. For City and Chelsea, that's something that they always seem to be able to do. They seem to pick up results against some of the big teams. But that for me is what United have changed this season. Obviously, getting the draw with City and the win over Arsenal was a big statement, I think, from United. But yeah, for me, Chelsea is still the favourites. I think they will only get stronger. I think United have to keep up this level because I think United have to be at their best to be able to keep up with Chelsea.
Yeah, I agree with that. Nas, do you want to come in on that one?
Yeah, just another thing. So you said Chelsea, not Chelsea, but I will come on to Chelsea winning the league. You just said, but no, you said about City and how they've dropped off. And obviously Nick Cushing was there last year, and they brought in this guy, I think Gareth Taylor. And yes, he's done well. They did it the City way. This is how they do it. But do you think potentially he's not up to the job? I mean, he's coming into it now, but that changeover is what's left it. He had to get used to women's football. Now potentially he's got used to it. But obviously with the WSL, like you say, you need to hit the ground running. You need to be winning against these small teams. And I think at the start he was just building it up, kind of thing, learning. Now,
no, look, I think any time a new manager comes in, look, I think there always has to be a period where the manager needs time to work with the players. I think obviously that period was run out at some point. I think that's run out now. I don't think you can use that as an excuse, but I do think initially, obviously Gareth Taylor coming in, there was lots to work with. You've got a set of players who have been very used to a similar way of coaching, a similar way of working, and when Taylor came in and obviously wants to use his philosophies and his new ideas, that is going to take time. And then you add to that the influx of some new players, and it's not just new players, it's big personalities, it's players who are going to be taking over the dressing room. They're going to be demanding a bit of leadership and a bit of professionalism. So that in itself is going to shake things up, and it's very hard, I guess, on the outside to see how much of a difference or how much change that will have on a squad. So I think Man City were always going to take a little bit of time. I think what was disappointing was the inconsistency at the start, putting in good performances, quite poor.
Do you think we're also underestimating a little bit? Oh, sorry, can you still hear me, Emma?
Yeah, it's underestimated who?
Sorry, yeah, your screen froze for a few seconds. No problem. Yeah, do you think we're underestimating the likes of the rest of the teams who maybe lifted their game for example, like the likes of Everton or Reading and the other teams? Maybe have they got a little bit stronger, which has made it harder for the likes of City and Arsenal to get all their points this season, or is it just a case of they are underperforming the big teams apart from ourselves and Chelsea?
Yeah, perhaps. I think obviously Everton have improved. I think that's fair to say, although they have had a drop off, just before Christmas, but certainly in terms of their squad depth and their performances at the start of the season, they definitely improved. Brighton have always been very well organised. They've always been a hard team to break down. So they're always a type of team that that you've got to be careful of. But I think the quality that's in that Man City squad has more than enough to deal with those teams. And I think I do think they will get stronger the second half now that they have had that time to work together. But I don't think there's any. I don't think you can deny that they will have been disappointed with the start. I think everyone expected a little bit better, despite all of the changes going on. I don't think that they can use that as an excuse 100%. So I think if they don't push on now, then I think that there will be question marks around why they haven't done that. But yeah, I'd be surprised. I think their form sort of the last sort of 4 weeks going into Christmas was definitely much better. So yeah, I think they will grow into it in the second half of the season for sure.
One last little bit on this from me, and then we're going to go on to something else. But people are saying they don't think City's going to qualify for Europe. I agree with that. But then they're saying away, we've played them at LSV now, and I think even the game for me against City at LSV, it's our mentality, and that's why I think we're picking up more points, because our mentality's changed. But yeah, this one, away ground doesn't matter now without crowds. I think, yeah, I think when we go to away grounds anyway, sort of, this is my arrogance, maybe people might say as a Man United fan, but we take it. I think it's home away. When we're there, it matters. Whereas I think now, no fans anyway. Maybe the pitch, but I think Chelsea, Arsenal have got good pitches anyway. So I don't think it matters. What's your take on sort of these games coming up for us now that they're away, since we played the first ones at home?
Yeah, I kind of have to agree with you, Natalie. I think without fans, there isn't too much of a difference. I mean, obviously, you factor in the travel and the fact that, you perhaps have less preparation time if you're travelling in between, back-to-back away games, etc. But I don't think in the WSL it makes too much difference, because it's not like the men's game where there is games every 3 days. So I don't think that makes too much of a difference. Obviously, the home comfort of being in your home dressing room and things like that, it adds a little bit to the kind of the mental preparation in terms of superstition, things like that. But I don't think there's enough there really to make a difference. So the main thing really is the coronavirus situation. We've seen obviously an outbreak down south. So I think if you've got away games down south at the moment, then there's always going to be that little bit of anxiety that the games might be called off. But it was the other way before Christmas in terms of games up north, and with there being a bit more of an outbreak up north. So I think that's the only real factor for me is the coronavirus spread. Other than that, I don't think the home and away form really is a thing at the moment. So yeah.
I love that comment on screen, by the way. That's pretty much my dream there, just making the LSB Theatre of Dreams. I would absolutely love that. But we'll talk about that, I'm sure, in future shows, because I always talk about it, so I don't want to keep on talking about it now. So just before we end up on this subject then, obviously Emma's tipped Chelsea for the title. I've got no qualm with that, to be honest. I can see why. But Nat, what order would you put the top four in? Because I think after that, I would probably go for Arsenal, then City. But I know Matt, who comes on this show regularly, I think he would have it the other way around. I think he thinks City, with having a bigger squad, they would leapfrog Arsenal. What are your thoughts on the top four?
Yeah, I think it'll be us, Chelsea, and then flip of a coin, isn't it? Because for me, I think now that Mewis and Lavelle didn't play as much, but for me, I think it's talk that she could be out for free until March and could miss the derby. For me, I think they have built up into form, but I think she's carried them. She, like I said, Sam Mewis, the best player in midfield in the WSL. She's carried them. She's the one who's got them the points when they were losing. So for me, it's a massive miss. I'm so grateful that Tobin and Kristen decided to stay in Manchester, fight for us, because it's Chelsea, They're going to be at that Kings Meadow ground. I'm sure, I've seen someone who's saying to you, I'm sure that Chelsea fans were wishing they weren't. And they can say this and that, but, Tobin is our game changer. Tobin has changed it for us. And I think we have a lot of fans, don't we, John? And they say, oh, watch out for Kristen. Kristen's year this year. So I'm ready. And I think they've looked so happy this Christmas. Yeah, they've not been in the family, but they look so happy. They've had so much fun. And Tobin's come out and said, this is my family now. And I just think, like when I said that connection, that's it. And, for me, it's put a little cloud, the COVID thing, but let's just move on from that. Bang, Everton, bang, Chelsea. 6 points, and then Birmingham at the end. Sorry to Ward.
Okay, let's move on to Emma's second article that was reading and that we want to talk about. It's transfers. So obviously it's January. Emma's favourite subject, definitely Natalie's favourite subject. Yeah. We're going to talk about your article and things that you wrote. We discussed Jane Ross on the previous show. I think, was that on Sunday show? I can't remember now.
Monday it went out, John.
Monday went out. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I was a little bit surprised by the timing, not necessarily the player, but the timing, because I thought maybe she would be going in the summertime. Obviously, there's no smoke without fire. Natalie, you said something along the lines of, if you hear a rumour in the women's game, it's probably usually true, because there's not that many rumours and not much discussions about it. Emma, your thoughts on the article that you wrote about Jane Ross? Is there discussions there, do you think, or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, from what I heard, there was discussions in the summer. So I think this January, I haven't heard anything solid. I'll be honest with you. The Tottenham link was a rumour. Whether or not that's true, I'm not sure, but it would make sense because I think they are on the lookout for strikers. I think Casey will be on the lookout for strikers in January. Whether or not that means she's bringing one in, I'm not sure.
You'll get your chance.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if not, because I think she's been quite open about the fact that United haven't been as clinical as perhaps she'd hoped they were. Obviously the injury to Russo. So I think I would be surprised personally if Casey doesn't bring one in. She is the type of person that would usually bat her down and say, look, like it's not happening, or you can read between the lines. But she's been in the press conferences when I've asked her about bringing players in, she's been quite open in the sense that she said if there's somebody out there that we like, then we will get them. While also saying she doesn't tend to buy in January, which is fair enough. But I think that's probably her more covering a track, really. I'd be surprised if United don't bring a striker in, and then for me, as I say, I think that means one goes out, and given Jane's age and the lack of perhaps game time compared to some of the other strikers, I think that she would be probably top of the list of the players that would fall down that pecking order. So
the names come on.
I can see that you're raring to go.
I love it. I'm sorry, Emma. I'm so sorry. I invite you on the podcast, and that's what no, but yeah, Jane Ross, God bless her soul. We said it, didn't we, John, with Amber? It's just not worked. It's not thing. But Esther. But the thing is, though, Esther plays for Levante in Spain. She's got 13 goals in 14 games. She's a 29 top quality. But the Spanish people that I speak to are saying, yeah, she's good. She's hot and fat, cold. I say it's like a Tony Marshall. When Tony Marshall's on form, he'll score all the goals. But we're seeing Tony Marshall now. He's not on form. He's not scoring as many goals. The one that I want from Levante, who is the cover photo of this video, Eva Navarro, we wanted her back when we got on her. She didn't want to come because she's 19 years old. It was a big move going from England to Spain. Casey's even made reference to it, saying the people, they wanted to come, but, like I say, it's a big move. No, I want the other one. I want Eva. That's it. But if it is Esther, it is Esther. The other name I'm just going to drop, and I want Em to just comment on a few what she thinks if she's heard of them. Kadisha Shaw, that's a big one. Bunny Shaw, Jamaican striker, absolutely world class. There's not even a debate. That's probably a summer move. And then obviously the one that's probably not going to happen, but I'd love it because the contract's out. Caroline Graham-Hansen, Barcelona, Norway striker. But Super Eva, let's get Eva in, mate. But what's your thoughts on Eva, Bunny, Graham-Hansen? I know I don't want to put you on your toes, but I just want to.
No, it's fine. I'll be quite open. I've not heard anything solid on any of those strikers. They're all rumours. I've not heard anything. I'd be surprised if Bunny Shaw wasn't in talks with the WSL, because she is the type of striker that I think would relish a move to England. So it wouldn't surprise me if there has been interest in her or discussions with her. But I'm being completely honest. I've not heard anything on those strikers. I can comment on Tony Duggan because I did put her in my piece. As far as I'm aware, she's staying at Atletico Madrid in January. I got quite a strong vibe from people who I've spoken to about her on that. But obviously her contract is up in the summer. And again, from everything I've kind of heard, I'd be very surprised if she wasn't moving back to the WSL. She was linked with Everton in the summer. And that is a club that I think would show an interest in her again, come this summer. So it'd be interesting to see what happens with her. But in terms of January, Tony Duggan, I don't think will be going anywhere.
Tony Duggan was a name that we looked at right at the start. And I think for me, we've gone past Tony Duggan. She's great, she's fantastic, Lioness legend, but we've gone past people like that. We're now signing like Tobin Heath and Kristen Press. And I think for me, I can only say for me and avid Man United fans, I think if we went to Tony Duggan now, people would be disappointed. I think we can't get rid of Jane Ross and go to Tony Duggan, but that's just my opinion. There's another one that I think is likely to happen, and I think she's likely to move back to WSL. And what you think, Emma, might be breaking some news here. Nikita Paris. I know her contract runs out in Lyon, and I know that Lyon fans aren't really pleased with her. They want her out. They've signed was it Jodie Taylor for longer. I don't think it'll be in the January, but can you see her definitely coming back?
Yeah, Nikita's another one that obviously we're all trying to get to the bottom of, I'm sure. I think she's been quite open in the past that she feels that by going abroad, she's kind of been forgotten about a little bit. And I think from a national team point of view, I think she'd be pretty keen to come back to England and sort of really stamp down her position as well, because we've seen these kind of youngsters come back. Obviously the likes of Russo, but Hemp has been making waves as well. Obviously Chloe Kelly's been making waves, and I think Paris will certainly be wary of that. We've seen Tony Duggan sort of fall out of the England setup, perhaps because she is kind of out of the mainstream. So I think if it was me guessing, I'd say 90% certain that Nikita Paris will be coming back to the WSL. Where to? I don't know. But yeah, I'd be fairly sure she'll be coming back.
And I'm seeing people cuss her in the DMs. I'm seeing people say she's a pace merchant, she struggles to score. But listen, for me, if you look at it, right, I'm not saying Nikita Paris would be our first choice, but it's a good option off the bench. And like you're saying, pace merchant, I'd have her running at people. Whether she'd want to come back and be a bench player, probably not. But for me, I think it's a good option just to add depth, you know what I'm saying? Maybe teach Fuso a bit. But listen, it's an option. If it's available, you got to look at it. And I know that's what Casey's doing now. I think it was closed off, but I think now, like what you said, Emma, people are pushing for it. And I think this is one thing that Man United fans have pushed for from day one. I love transfer window, and I've said it to every journalist. And I said, I want rumours, I want gossip. And I know I've just said like 4 or 5 names at you, but you're just saying this is my thoughts on this. And it's not anything concrete, but it's talk, it's gossip, it's excitement. I get excited over it. I know what all our fans do, and we're all like looking at all these pictures. John, you know it. And I'm telling you, I'm flipping like 5 names in a day. You're like, who's this one?
I tried to get all these names on the list, and you
players. And God, when they broke that thing about Preston Heath, the internet broke, you know what I'm saying? And that's what's going to push it for me. And I know you're not keen, and I know a lot of journalists aren't keen because they want to get it right and they don't want to say something that doesn't end up happening. But I think people are intelligent. They know what the difference between a rumour and like concrete, you know what I mean? If you said to me, someone did say to me, you just signed Fuso, I knew it was done, you know? But Honor's just signed a contract, I knew it's done. But when I'm talking about Turgun and all these players, I know it's all talks, you know? What do you think about the way it's going in terms of transfers then, generally in the women's game?
Yeah, like I said, it's a tough one because at the end of the day, you're talking about players' careers. So I do think there has to be some sensitivity around reporting of transfers. I think if you've heard some kind of rumor where you think, oh, okay, that's interesting, there might be something in that. I think it's fair to report it as gossip, but I think you have to make the difference between what is gossip and what isn't, and you have to be quite clear. But yeah, sure. In terms of actual transfers and actual dealings that have happened, if you have got that from a good source and you know that that's happening, then I completely agree. I think there needs to be more openness about players moving, and I think there needs to be more questions around transfers, around contracts. And this is another thing I was quite vocal on, more in the summer, was clubs releasing details on player contracts. That was something that it's been a nightmare to find out for ages, and Manchester City were very good at this actually in the summer, releasing, and Chelsea started to do it more, but we're actually releasing the contract length of players. So that's something that I'd like to see more of, and it's one of the reasons why we're talking about the likes of Tony Duggan, because it's been made clear when her contract ends, and therefore that's going to help her in terms of her profile because people are talking about her. So I don't see how it harms players by saying how long they're signed up to clubs. So look, transfer gossip is gossip. Transfer news is news. As long as you like I say, make it clear what the difference is. I think it's harmless, and I think it's good. It's good for the game. It's good for the fans. Awful for journalists, but there we go. Nothing great for journalists. So
I'm glad that you mentioned the sensitivity, because I thoroughly agree with that. It really played on my mind when I mentioned Lotte Rockqvist, because there was loads of rumours going around that Lotte might be moving or going on loan or something in January, and I didn't particularly want to mention it because obviously I do like Lotte anyway, but it's not nice on her to hear those rumours, and especially any comments that may follow. So, for example, if an article goes out on Lotter and other people will then start commenting on Lotter, or the same as Jane Ross. And one thing that me and Natalie hate is people, any fans of any club, saying something negative about our own players and our own manager. So it's nice to see that you've picked up on that, because I don't think a lot of journalists really care. Well, the way it comes across is that a lot of journalists don't really care about the thoughts of the perception is anyway of the actual player. It's almost like getting the story out there, but that's the way it comes across, like from a fan's point of view. But I wouldn't mind if you just answer and kind of like come back at me on that and kind of defend maybe that kind of perception.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, everyone has their own perception. The journalists that I know well and that I respect, I know that they absolutely put the players at the forefront of their minds, and if anything, I think they've probably been criticised, and the media have been criticised in the past for being too protective of players, actually. So I would disagree with you on that, but I think it's also a mark of respect for journalists to talk about things like transfer news, etc. And that's why I do think it is important. I think we're all learning that, along with the professionalism of the game, is that I think you have to deal with them sensitively. But I think that the large bulk of journalists will appreciate that, and they will also know that unfortunately you have to report on things that you hear. So I put Jane Ross in my article. Like I said, I made that clear that was a rumor. And as I've said my thoughts on here, I think it's one of those that, given her age and the fact that there's clearly other people above her in the pecking order, it's something that would make sense. And I think as long as a journalist reports it in that way, and they don't say, "Oh, look, this player isn't good enough for this club," I think it's fine. I think it's healthy. And yeah, you just have to be careful in the way that you report it. But like I said, the journalists that I respect and the journalists that I know and I work with, I know that they do that, and they will always be sensitive with these kind of things.
Yeah, I think you've summarised that really well. Go on, Nat.
I think it's more what you said about they don't really care. I'm not saying that they don't, because I think men journalists do care, but I think it's more in the Premier League, in the men's game. You just see bang to bang, bang to bang, bang to bang, and it's like that. And I sort of said, that's what I want to see in the women's game. I don't want to see it as much, because how distraught I was just to even say. And I was even saying, listen, it's not that I don't like her. It's just, it's going to be best for the progression, development of our club. Like you say, Emma said, there's other people above her, things like that. And, Lotta, I think that story even came from her agent. So obviously I think he's potentially pushed that out there. I know she's not happy with the amount of game time. Well, that's what the story said. So, it's stuff like that. And I think everyone's happy when we're talking about, oh, so-and-so, did you see this? But it's like Em said, for Tony Duggan, it's good that everyone knows and everyone's talking. And now even about Paris, everyone's talking. These two girls might be coming back to WSL. Where are they going to go? And I think it adds that excitement. I can see someone saying about goalkeepers. Enla's always my number one choice. She's even gone on Chile TV and said, boom, and listed three or four clubs that she could go to. So I think it's getting that hype now. Big players are doing that kind of thing. I know there was a girl player who signed for Atletico Madrid, and she's doing it like Griezmann. Oh, coming up soon. Where am I going to go? And she, I think it's getting that excitement. I love it. But I'm still learning, and I know all United fans, even fans of this channel, probably who don't even know our full squad, are probably still learning. I'm still learning, and then for me, I think we could add a centre back, give that competition. But I don't even know of a decent centre back who would potentially come around. I've seen that Arsenal sign one, Anna Patton, and that was one I've just learned about and thought, oh, we could sign her. But obviously, things have moved quickly, and they've got her. Will we after her? Who knows? But it's kind of that level that I want to see. I want to see like an honour level player potentially come in there and challenging Turner, challenging McManus. And I think when you've seen Honour come in, she has raised that bar of the fullbacks for everyone, and I think it's good, and I think she's enjoying herself. And I think it's just, adding that competition. I think everyone needs it. I think in the men's team we've seen, Dino pushing De Gea, and I think if you get another goalkeeper in, Mary would push. And I think it's just the game, isn't it? And it's not that we don't love and respect all the players. It's just this is the sport that we love, and there's ingoings and outgoings.
This is exactly the kind of show that NASA's wanted for ages. I think you missed the New Year's Eve one, which was talking about transfers, and obviously now you're letting it all out. Emma, any final thoughts on the transfer window before we move on to the very last subject?
Yeah, I mean, just generally, not United based, but just generally, that I think it'll be a very active one for Birmingham if they can get players over the line. They need bodies in, so they should be on paper the most active. There's lots of players that have been in communication with Carla Ward, I'm sure, and lots of clubs that are trying to do dealings. It's just a case of her managing the budget and seeing what she can get over the line and probably how many she can get over the line. Willie Kirk was quite open. He said he wanted new signings in, so I think we'll see some more at Everton. And yeah, we've already seen today Spurs have tied down their loan deals, so I think there's going to be a lot of these loans that are going to be kind of priority in terms of getting them permanent deals.
One last thing then, Emma, because this is the one, and then they'll kill me if I don't ask it. Okay. Can you see Tobin and Kristen staying extra longer?
Yes, absolutely. That's just my opinion. That's nothing I've been told, but I would be surprised. Certainly from Tobin's point of view, I think Tobin will be staying. I think she's clearly shown that she's enjoying it and she's enjoying her football, and I think that their decision not to go on the USA international camp is just how much they regard their experience and what they're learning in Manchester. Both have spoken very highly of Casey Stoney. They've spoken very highly of the professionalism of the squad. I'd be surprised if they didn't sign on, and I don't think Casey would be letting them go. So
exclusive there, all for United. No, we're joking.
We've put Emma on the spot enough, so we'll just
we're joking. Well, you can then say it's an exclusive if it does happen, Emma. You know,
true.
Sure you
there you go. Heard it here first.
Yeah.
Emma, in a second, I'm going to ask you who maybe is a potential star of the future for United, like maybe like one of the players that you've seen who maybe isn't as well known as Heath and Tress or as decorated, but maybe could be in the future. So I just mentioned that. You can mention that in a second, but just for me as a summary on transfers, I just think everyone who Casey signed, whether it be in 2018 when she was starting up or even just in the summer, I can't help but be happy on the kind of personalities that she's brought in. So, for example, whenever Natalie mentions a name or yourself mentions a name or any name comes on Twitter, the chances are I won't even know who the player is because I've only followed women's football since Man United's come. So the first thing I do is I get onto Google and I get onto Wikipedia and I see the stats and I see a little bit about them and what position they play, how many goals they've scored, how many appearances, have they played for the country. That's it. But Wikipedia doesn't tell you anything about their personalities, about how they're going to gel with the teammates, anything about that. And I just think how brilliant Casey seems to have done, especially from like an outsider as a fan, on the right mix of people that she's got, a blend of experience, a blend of like personality, just like laughing and joking, but knowing when to be serious. Hashtag military maybe. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of end the transfer a bit on that, on how well she's done so far in recruitment, and I'm sure we've got full faith in what goes on in the future. Okay, so yeah, potential star of the future then. Go on, Nat, you go first.
Okay.
And we'll move on to...
Should I pull one out of left field?
Yeah, go on.
Yeah. John usually asks me, and listen, I only know about players' names because Man United is so global that everyone wants to know about Man United. So I reach out to people in America. So when I heard about Tobin and Kristen, I was messaging all American fans. I speak to loads of them now. I'm sure we'll have a few on air, John. We're talking about getting a few from Spain, and that's how I learned about Anna, through asking the people there. And I think that's really important. Twitter's can be so horrible sometimes, but it can be so great, and you can learn so many things. And I think definitely just interact with as many people as you can, because that's how you learn about all the players. But star of the future, obviously, Anna. I love Anna. But I'm going to pull one out of left field because I'm seeing her a lot in the training pictures, and it's going to be no one that anyone knows. Tara Bourne, who plays for the Devs. She's come from Liverpool Devs last year. She played half a season for the development squad, but now I'm seeing her all the time in the winning team for Man United. And I think she's 17 years old. She's playing for the for the England setup, she's going to be quality. The things she can do with the ball is amazing. I've only seen her a couple of times for the development squad, but I think the fact that we're seeing her all the time with the first team is really key. And I know people are really desperate. They see a star. I mean, I do this. They see a little kid and they're like, right, Man United is about youth, and Man United is about youth. It's about getting the youth players through. We've got, like you say, Millie, Tooney, Guzzello, we've got all those girls, but it's just going to be special for me. I think that first day, that actual, and even though Tara's come from somewhere else, but that one that comes through fully from baby, from 5 years old. I mean, there's another kid called, I don't want to like saying all the kids, but Poppy Lawson, she's the captain of the under-21 team. That's another one from 5 years old to the first team. When that player does that, that's going to be a special moment. So I think those two names for me, stars.
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably going to cheat here because I'm going to open my hands up and say, look, I don't get to watch a lot of development football. It's one of the sort of like setbacks really of being kind of a reporter that focuses largely on the top leagues, which sounds really elitist, but and then given obviously the COVID stuff this year, I've not really been able to see any academy players. So a lot changes within an academy within like the space of 12 months. And so the fact that I haven't seen any of these young players play for a year. I
wasn't even referring to the devs. Obviously, Natalie watches the devs.
Yeah,
anyway,
exactly.
I was going to say Ella Toon. So obviously this season she's come into a role and she's playing for England and she's now forced away into the starting 11. Who would have thought that when you've got the likes of Hayley Ladd, Zellem, Lucy Stan, Jackie, all competed against those, and she's the first name on the team sheet for me for the majority of this season. So
yeah, I completely agree. Yeah, I completely agree with John. And that was the name I was going to say. I was going to say I'm cheating because I've seen a lot more of her. I've seen her obviously, in the England camps. I've seen her play a lot for United this season. But I think, people talk about Minnie Turner and the fact that she's doing really well at centre back. But obviously Lauren James is the star of the show. But for me, it is Ella Toon. And what I find most interesting as well, John, is, you mentioned that she's broken into a team with all these stars around her. But Casey speaks about her a lot in press conferences and the fact that she's, she stays behind at training. She works really hard and she's learning off the players around her, and she's keeping that level of professionalism. So, that's why for me, she's the one to watch. And yeah, I am cheating because she's kind of already there. But she's the one that I'm most excited to see develop more, especially under Casey as well.
100%. Look, we could talk for hours as always. Nat, any final words from yourself there?
No, it's just been a good one. Just keep watching, keep subscribing, keep following. Follow us on Barbie Army. Follow me, follow John, follow Emma. Because listen, if you want to get breaking news or news about what's going on in the WSL, news about Man United women, she's going to know it before me. So follow her as well. But no, I like these shows, and we're going to keep going with them. We've got someone else next week. It's going to be a good one. And just hopefully, we've got a game on Sunday. We've not even talked about that, but, just, they know what we want from the game. We know what we're going to see when we watch the girls. I just can't wait for more excitement, really. It's
not very often that we get a chance to have someone on the show who's got, like, I want to say inside information, but a different way of looking at things as opposed to a fan. So, obviously, we could have talked about the Everton game, but I think we would do that on a normal show anyway with a fan. So, I think it's been really beneficial for all the people watching and obviously for ourselves. So thank you very much, Emma, for coming on. I hope we haven't grilled you too much.
No, thanks for having me. I hope it was useful, and I hope you did kind of get something out of it, and hope people enjoyed it. So thanks for having me on.
The viewing figures are amazing. Thank you very much, Emma. What is your Twitter, just in case anybody does want to follow you?
It's at @EM_Sandy with a Y. So yeah,
absolutely. It's on all the Twitter.
Follow her.
Yeah, we've retweeted this quite a lot today, so you'll find it definitely on the All For United or mine or Nat's Twitter. So thank you again, Emma. Thank you to everybody in the comments. We'll see you on Sunday night. It's now going to be live, so none of this pre-record on Sunday. Out on Monday, it's live, so you guys can join in the comments on Sunday night as well. So we will see you all then. Thank you, Emma. Thank you, Natalie.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah.